It has been a long and eventful day. None of us would have predicted that a bill so simple and clear in terms of its objectives would have had members tarrying for so long and tarrying in irrelevancy as it relates to the bill. And it is unfortunate, and yet it is part of the rich democracy that we practice, that at times these extremes are allowed. Hopefully, Mr. Speaker, the opposition will come to the next debate better prepared. I recall as I listened to some of the presentations coming from members opposite, some new members and at least one old member, experience in the Parliament. And you listen to them and you wonder, why are they saying these things? And I reflected when I heard the first presentation from the senator opposite. Wow, that sounds just like Marcella. And why Marcella, you may ask? Because Marcella Liebert had the pattern, sitting in the same chair, had the pattern of coming into the Parliament. Whatever the bill was, had no meaning to her. She came as if she was going to shop, and she had a list of things that she will speak about. No matter the context of the debate, she will speak to those things. And when she is finished, she will call out all who is dead, and then she leaves the Parliament. Pattern of coming to Parliament, not prepared to stick to what the Parliament is about. And indeed, when you look at the standing orders, they are appropriate areas in which members of the Parliament can intervene if they wish to raise certain matters. But you can't use a bill to come in the Parliament and all we are hearing is children melee. Can't use that. And the Parliament must ensure that that kind of behavior, practice as it is from the opposition, does not continue too long in this session of the House. And yes, we pardon and we excuse the newness of the member for number 1. We excuse the newness of the lady senator opposite. And you ask yourself, after 4 months of a general election, where is the parliamentary caucus for the old Labour Party? Where is it that members come into the Parliament ill-prepared, not having read the bill properly, and so they go off in all kind of things, unrelated, no distinction between what is a matter of legislative importance and event and what in fact is a matter for executive action. For some of the things they talk about, we hear the conversation about we need some computers in the school. That's not a matter for legislation, that's not a matter for here. We hear a long list of things that may be wrong at Keon High School and nothing about what is right at Keon High School. And you wonder, has the teacher reported those to the principal of the school? Has the teacher reported those to the education officer attached to the school? Has the teacher written to the chief education officer? That is what the teacher should have done. And then we would not have been laboring in the Parliament about these matters, important as they must be, not a matter that is of any relevance to the debate. These things are what keep us here so very late, because they are used in every occasion to attempt to score cheap political points. political points. But that is not what the Parliament is about. Certainly you could go on Freedom Radio and talk some of those things if you wish to. But when you come to the Parliament, there are specific matters put on the agenda for which they opposite are given 7 days notice. 7 days to alert themselves. And they are given the bills to read and prepare themselves. Imagine we come here. They come here. I want to make the point. And we hear conversations coming over there, and they know better. Well, this bill is rushed. I think the Deputy Prime Minister dealt with that particular falsehood adequately. Suffice it to say, it was since August. Since August, the member for number 1. Since August, the member for number 6. Since August, the senator opposite had knowledge of the bill we are debating today. It was with them for 4 months, 4 long months. They did nothing. They held no party caucus. They held no meeting with their constituents. They didn't send it to the youth parliamentarians if they wanted an input from them. They didn't send it anywhere. And after 4 months, they come to talk about this is rush. Laziness, why they didn't read the bill. Laziness, why they come into the house ill-prepared. And to cover up their shortcomings, they sought to get into all kind of irrelevance. The country of St. Kitts and Nevis knows what rush means in the context of Parliament. That is why the member for number 6 is over there. Because we the people understood what rushing in Parliament meant with respect to legislative action. His last piece of legislative enactment and government side, was with respect as the Prime Minister and a member of the government, was in January, 16th of January. That is your birthday or 2 days after. After his birthday, he came into the Parliament and a Friday to it. And within less than a half an hour, as the Boundaries Committee had met and deliberated on the boundaries, he rushed it into this Parliament to be acted upon. Rush, spell it with a capital R. Spell it with a capital R. And in order to ensure that it was rushed to the Parliament processes, he had the gates down there locked into entrance into the government building. We had to call, made a big noise to get entry to come into the Parliament. Gate locked, streets barricaded.
That is not true. That is not true. On a point of order, he's misleading the House. No gate was locked.
The gate was locked. You were there when I came in? You were there? The gate was locked.
The member for number 5 was there. Everybody came. There was no gate locked. That is absolute nonsense.
We had to make requests. We had.
Properly.
All right. When you finish shouting.
I am not shouting.
Okay.
I am here on a point of order. You are misleading the House.
Honorable
you are lying to the House.
Honorable members,
that's not a point of
no,
order.
honorable member for number 6, you should not be saying that. That's a simple matter. For me, the member presenting claims when he came, the gates were locked. Somebody has interjected and made a valid point and asked if you were there when they came.
Of course I was there.
So it's the member said it.
Reading the bill.
No, that the
Honorable
gate
member,
downstairs.
honorable member,
Gate was not locked, Mr.
honorable member for number 6. I still insist that to me it's a simple matter that the member presenting is claiming that when he came to government headquarters, the gate was locked downstairs.
That is not true.
Someone has interjected and said you were not there at the time he came, so you are not in a position to speak to.
Working hours. Civil servants were in the building.
Anyway, let's move on.
This is, Mr. Speaker, he seemed to forget, Mr. Speaker, that whenever there was a parliamentary sitting, all of Church Street became a sterilized area. All of Church Street. No cars. The SSU on rooftops. The SSU in the parliament, ready for action. Customs come prepared. A selected group of them. That was what we had in our country. Democracy was being made a mockery of. We know, Mr. Speaker, that is why he told the member for number 8 on that very day that he should be thrown out. Well, he told the Speaker, throw him out like a common criminal. This how we had matters when they are being rushed. The member must not be allowed to speak. He should be thrown out like a common criminal. So, Mr. Speaker, there's nothing rushed about what we are doing. The member for number 6, as forgetful as he may be at times, did recall in the cross-talk that we brought legislation before in the session before this one of the Parliament to deal with matter of electoral reform, to deal with matters, he said, to do with the overseas voters, and we did lay in the House for first reading a bill in relation to that. So there's no secret. There's no rushing of it. We did not go through with it because they made the point that it was too close to an election to be bringing those things. And we recognize that it would not be good. Whether we brought that bill or we didn't bring it, it was clear to us that they were going to lose again. Lose again. And they did. And they did. Bigger. They lost bigly, Mr. Speaker. They really did. So this falsehood about rushing through, why are we rushing? There's no need to rush. And the evidence of Jews speak clearly that since last year, they know that a bill like this was coming. 4 months ago, we gave them the bill. They were aware of it. And they come to the Parliament and they're mixing up so many situations. They talk about disqualifying people. They seem to forget, that the bill that we have brought here was dealing with 3 things alone. 1, it established 2 categories of Commonwealth citizens who could become qualified to vote. And it established, secondly, 2 criteria with respect to residency. That's what the bill do. It says, if you are our brothers and sisters from a member state of CARICOM that is part of the Commonwealth, we will allow you to continue to wait for 12 months before you are able to register. You qualify to register. No controversy. That is now the law. And we say we appreciate that these people are our own people. They are our kith and kin. They are our brothers and sisters. We share many things in common with them. The same geographical space, the same culture, the same history, the same cricket team, so many things, the same central bank, the same university, the same court, and we could go on and on. We order our health products through the pharmaceutical program of the OECS. We harmonize our foreign policy, and that distinguishes them from the others. That's what it is. That's it, what it is. They are given special and differential treatment. And the doctors who say that they understand globalism, well, special and differential treatment is still on the agenda. Not all countries are treated the same. There will never be. At the United Nations, perhaps the most equal of international organization in terms of an ability to participate at the level of the General Assembly. When you go to the Security Council, some are there and some are not. And even within the membership of the Security Council, you have the permanent five. You can't touch them. And you have the others. The permanent five have de facto power to veto. So if Russia says no, if America says no, it doesn't matter what the other 190 plus other member states of the body says. Because at the level of the Security Council, they distinguish the power brokers. That is a reality of life that will never change. We will come here and one of the bills we are going to be dealing with talks about harmful taxation. Well, different world. Who among the OECD is going to call upon the United States to change up their fiscal policy and to make changes to tax law? Who? No one can. No one can. And yet, the OECD says it has the authority to discipline and to blacklist countries. Can't blacklist Mr. Trump, America? They can't dare do that. They can't blacklist Germany. Because in the global world, power makes a difference. And so, a lot of times, as is the case with Antigua, Antigua goes to the WTO, World Trade Organization, wins its case in relation to internet gambling. And up to now, we can't get a settlement. Power talks. Countries are different. And we will not all get the same treatment. So those who allow themselves to get sidetracked by the theory of we are a global world, let them come. When you begin to analyze it, you see how ridiculous the argument becomes. Let them come. A country with 55,000 people, a population, and many of them, not even conditions and divisions, by birth, by marriage, or residency, but part of the inhabitant base of the country. And you say, let everyone from India, or whomsoever will, 1.3 billion persons automatically then get access. How does that make sense to anybody? Whether you're a doctor or a teacher or a lawyer, that such a policy could stand. That you say, let them come, don't discriminate, give them the very rights that we who born here, we who have no other place but St. Kitts and Nevis to call our own, We have no land to go back to when all is lost. They can go back to India if they will. They can go back to Fiji if they will. They could go back to their country of birth. We have nowhere to go. We have no Dominican diplomatic passport to show to the world at Gatwick. We don't have. So we say we have to be careful that we do not displace our own citizens here. And we make no apology, none whatsoever, for preserving the power of Kittitians and Nivisians in our space. We hear the member for number 6 says, well, the people are investors. Let them vote. Is that what the franchise fought so hard for by those before us is now the mean too? Because he or she can invest, they must get the right to vote. Just so. And we say over here, no, no, no. The money must not become the influential and decisive factor in determining who can vote in St. Kitts and Nevis, because history would record it's from there that we came, where it was only the propertied class, the white planter man and his offsprings and his friends were able to vote in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we had to have had riots in our countries. Buckley's riot, riots in Jamaica, the Moyne Commission, social and political reform that led in 1952 for the first time. Member for number 6, try and control your phone. Huh? I know the technology is new. Tell me when you got through with it so I could continue. Yeah. So, Mr. Speaker, that is where we have come from. And it must be disappointing that members opposite come today to put forward that offensive view. There is no merit to that, and it has no place in a modern St. Kitts and Nevis. They talk the falsehood about persons being thrown off the list. Again, the point had been made by the Attorney General and the Deputy Prime Minister and member for number 5. Nothing tall goes so. In fact, the law protects, at clause 39, the right of a person to remain registered. And it sets out the process, the very process that the senator is unaware of, the very process that the member for number 1 is unaware of. It is written in the bill, written in the bill. And they must look at the section 39, section 45, section 52. And they would understand that the point they were trying to make, really, there was no need to go there because the law is quite clear. And just some advice, Mr. Speaker, because, again, you go back to the story. Do you understand what you read, member for number 1? No, because I am new. Do you understand what you read, senator opposite? No, because I am new. And even if I am not new, well, I am a doctor. What does a doctor have to do with that? The arrogance. The arrogance. Don't tell me because I am a doctor. Well, I am a doctor too, but me can't give injection. I have to listen and understand. I can't give prescriptions. So there are certain things you are exposed to by training and experience, but you can't profess to know it all in the world in which we live. It was unfortunate that we would hear that conversation. The bill, Mr. Speaker, is a very important one, and the Attorney General made mention of it. At the heart of it, really, is for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis and all who live here to experience real democracy at work. Real democracy as it was intended and is intended to work in the Westminster parliamentary representative system. That you vote where you're registered to vote, and you should register where you live. You can't be in St. Paul's and still voting up at Boardwalk. It is wrong. You can't come to our country in transition and believe that you're here 1 semester, 2 semester, 3 semester at Windsor or any other institution of learning, and you will be able to vote here. Just like Marshall Lewis in Sandy Point. It's not fair. Just like the young man, Kevin Williams. It's not fair. Just like Jeffrey Hanley in number 1. It's not fair. It's not fair. It bacchanalizes. It brings an aberration to the practice of democracy. And I ask each member opposite, tell me which country you can go to. Tell me which country you can go to, not being a citizen and being able to vote just so without a residency criteria. There is none. It wouldn't happen in Putin's Russia. It certainly will not happen in Trump's America. It will not happen in Boris Johnson's United Kingdom. Why is it, they figure, that small little St. Kitts must allow those aberrations to happen? We are better than most. We are better than most. And we value and we take pride in our ability to manage our democracy. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to commend those on this side of the House for their contributions. And to say to the members opposite, we are hoping in this particular session of the Parliament that the Honourable Speaker will organize for a number of courses, training sessions that will better prepare parliamentarians, especially new ones, on both sides of the House, really, to give them an orientation into parliamentary life and how they should approach Parliament. Indeed, I think the Clerk of the House had made such a proposal for consideration. That is where we really need to go. We hear them say in their hypocritical way, why early with electoral reform? Well, you recall during the lead up to the last election, they were asking the same question. They were saying Timothy Harris waited the last shower of rain and he wanted to deny those people overseas the right to vote. Why he didn't bring it early? Well, now we are very early. Over 4 years before an election is constitutionally due, save as the option of the Prime Minister. And they are saying the same nonsense which they spoke then, that we are rushing. We are giving people time to familiarize themselves with the new law and to make the adjustment. We certainly can't be accused this time of coming in the last shower of rain. We are doing the right thing for the country. And when we hear such things about people having multiple places of residence, some short-term, and these must be factored into the law, we say no appropriate law will be able to cater to the whims and fancies of every resident in the country. Member for number 5 spoke about it well. So what if she lives in Molineux? What if her grandmother is in Challengers? She determines, well, I'm going to be there, spend a little time there with my grandmother. And if I want to, I must just vote in number 4 because I want a different candidate in number 4. We can't allow that. Can't allow that at all. We hear what is the agony of the member for number 6. And it is really with respect to the third element of electoral reform. You must vote where you live. And he recalls that over 200 plus persons from St. Paul's were encouraged to go into number 4 so that they could be available for the displacement of the representatives there.
Warriors already assigned. Warriors already assigned.
Warriors already assigned. And we say this is an unhealthy and illegal practice. And today we come to make sure that it will not repeat itself. That is their worry. They want to be able to conveniently pad the list. They want to have a situation where you vote where you want. As he would say, nobody could stop you. So if we have a by-election in number 1 soon, then nobody could stop you. Go and register in number 1, although you live in St. Paul's, although you live in Sadler's, although you live in Parsons. Hundreds of persons from number 6 sent all around, specifically to ensure a particular outcome. Even in number 7, they waste time and they send some, because the handful they send up there can't really make a difference in number 7. Can't make a difference. But they are vulnerable seats. Seats that historically will always be competitive, like number 4, number 1, number 2. They have always been competitive. And he believed that by strategically maneuvering the residents, that he would be able to determine the electoral outcome. This bill is intended to say no to this kind of misbehavior and to allow us to have a better practice of democracy. In closing, Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the Attorney General and his officers for being able to crystallize these elements in our first effort in this session of the Parliament to bring genuine electoral reform. And there's no need for referendum. The people have just voted. They voted 9 in favor of the government of Team Unity and 2 to the opposition. But that is a clear referendum. Why are you going back? That is like going for your visa before your time expires. If you're not careful, the marks cancelled in it. Why are we going to a referendum when we just won an election, where we put electoral reform as one of the things that we will do? And we came out victorious. Why go to a referendum when the Constitution does not require it? Why waste the public money again? Because going to the referendum is like doing over another general elections. It's about spending time going to canvass a point for which we already know the answer. Why go to a referendum again? To spend those money again? For them to cry that they are not ready again? For them to lose again? For them to go to the court again? For them to say, well, we have COVID-19 and we have a state of emergency. Why Dr. Harris call a referendum again? Doesn't make sense. And they know it. They are not prepared. We hear that we need to have COVID education. Well, education is an ongoing process. We never have it all and we never know it all. We have to always engage in a process of learning, even when you're a doctor, and unlearning some of the things that we have already learned. That is why almost every week we have at the NEOC. How often they have these sessions? Every week. Talking about COVID-19. Superintendent Henry, the CMO, Abdia Samuel, Dr. Wilkerson, LesRoy Williams, all of them have been engaged in a practical activity of preparing and training our people from way back since March. Our people understand. That is why when John Paul calls in, John Paul said, with people in St. Kitts, now listen to the news. Because when you listen to the news and CNN and Fox and BBC and Sky, the Gulf News, Al Jazeera, all of those, you can't hear a news session without information regarding COVID-19. What they must do is by example. Show the people that we can live safely with respect to COVID-19. And the fact that in our country, we have managed to do so well that when the international media wants to interview someone to reveal a success story in the management of COVID-19, they look to the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. Whether it is BBC or Sky or CNN or CBS or in the Gulf. Next week I'm doing one with the largest circulation in Nigeria. Because we are a success story. Our people understand. The majority of them understand what is at stake, Mr. Speaker. Yes, Mr. Speaker, we have done well. And there will always be room for improvement. I hope that at Keon High School, where the senator is, she is doing what she can to help our people understand and appreciate more with regards to COVID-19. And it is not a perfect world. It is of no consequence in today's world as it is for the teacher to come to say, well, the students, they don't have a device, so the students can't learn. And the students do not know what is happening. We will reject that for what it is. The politics, for that's not real. We learn, and there were no devices. We learned, even when there were no physical schools. I recall at Tabernacle, we had classes with teacher Susanna Lee under a tree. Under a tree. We had our classroom, yes, but some of the classes were outdoors. And we learned. Sometimes we encourage children to put emphasis on the wrong things. You go to many countries, you see their sports facilities. Man, they're playing football and rough dirt. No nice field, like we have at Warner Park or St. Mary's or Sandy Point. No nice field, well prepared. And people from those very humble settings have emerged internationally. And you wonder, we put too much emphasis at times on the material things. We hear in this debate talking about irrelevancy. But what about the marketing plan? Well, I've heard Raquel Brown, the Director of Tourism, spoke to the marketing plan for tourism. There are things on the tourism website, but this debate wasn't about it. As the Deputy Prime Minister says, when the budget debate comes, we could have a conversation about that particular matter. We have heard about the school meals. Truth is, schools meals. The school meals program is better than it was under the Douglas administration. And more students and more teachers are now participating in the program because the quality has been enhanced. And even during COVID, we provided that, made it available so that our people and our children in particular would not go hungry, and to ensure that at least they would be assured of at least one hot meal per day. The government is not indifferent. It is because we have not been indifferent, and in fact we have been compassionate and sensitive, that I unveiled the largest stimulus package in the region. Smallest country in the Caribbean, with the most comprehensive stimulus package. In some,
That's absolute.
Absolute. In some countries, they're giving $600. In some countries, they're giving $330. In some countries, they give none. And Deputy Prime Minister got himself in trouble because he said in one country, which shall remain nameless, they had no stimulus package. For the record, I'm not saying after the Deputy Prime Minister. Every country will look after its people in accordance with its resources. But here in St. Kitts, what a marvelous job we have been able to do. Here in St. Kitts, in addition to that, we came forward, we have more social safety nets than any other country. We have a PAP program that has pumped over $20+ million for the year so far to people who are having an income below the 3,000 threshold. During this season of COVID, we, as it were, relaxed it, and 1,940 persons, I reported last Tuesday night, and Leadership Matters were able to come onto that program. So you had stimulus money, you had PAP money, and you had other money, and you still have voucher programs at Eugene Hamilton's ministry, Social Development. In fact, right now, the conversation in the country is, why should some be getting PAP? They're getting stimulus and they're getting their severance. And we have agreed that we need to rationalize it to ensure that it is really the most needy who are getting these benefits, so that the disincentive for persons to go to work no longer carries in the future. Because if when they had the PAP and they had the stimulus and the severance and all those other social safety nets, they then say, well, boy, what is sense I going out to work when I get in all this easy money? And that will not be good for our country and our productivity. So I want to end now, Mr. Speaker, again in thanking all who have contributed to the debate. The opposition, I want to thank them, although they were irrelevant in material particulars. But again, they gave us an opportunity to correct their mischief right here in Parliament, rather than await for the lies and half-truths to be announced on Freedom Radio and on social media. I want to say that the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis are our primary concern. Whether it is with PAP or stimulus package and so on, we want the very best for the people here. And I want, yes? COVID protection. And I want to say also that there must be a special place in our country for our brothers and sisters from Antigua and Barbuda, from Dominica, from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, from St. Lucia, from Jamaica, from Guyana, from Trinidad, from Belize, from Haiti, from all the member states really of CARICOM and OECS. The truth is there is a special bond and relationship, and it pains me that members opposite pretend not to be able to appreciate why we want to be nice to the people of Guyana, why we want to be especially nice to the people of St. Vincent and Dominica and Jamaica, why we want to be so nice to them, why not treat them like the citizen coming from Fiji, why not treat them like the person coming from Malta and Vanuatu and the Solomon Islands. And we say we can't. We can't, because the special bond is not there. Additionally, we say that there are legal reasons. The treaties of which we are a part, the CARICOM Treaty, the Treaty of Bastia related to the OECS, demands that we give special and differential consideration with respect to nationals from those member states. Notwithstanding, Mr. Speaker, the arguments put forward, we have an excellent piece of legislation to work with, and we will come again to deal with other issues related to electoral reform. So I want to thank the country for their support for the government, thank them again for giving us the mandate to effect change, and I want to wish this piece of legislation safe passage to the Honorable House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.